See, coming back. A little more pressure than where?
Jump rabbit.
Call the meeting, regular board meeting March 2nd at 9:30 in the small hall. We stand for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance for the flag.
Heavenly Father, as we thankfully gather here on this bright, beautiful morning, we ask once again for your guidance in conducting business for Trailer Estates in a professional manner, according to your will. In thy name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the secretary take the roll call, please?
Sure. Mary Chandler.
Here.
Lori Dalton. Here. Gordon Elton. Here. Pete Price.
Here.
Sandy Semenich.
Here.
Mike Sansoni.
Here.
Dwayne Trotter.
Here.
All present.
We'll take residents and comments, questions. Please turn off your phones.
I did, but the alarm went off. To remind myself to get a shot. I am here. My name is Paul.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Meyer, 6609 Massachusetts Street. I am here to talk about the kayak rental. At $10 a month is a 300% increase. A $100 a year is a 230% increase. The kayak rental is the most profitable thing in the park. I have rented a kayak space for the last 7 years and the price has not increased, although you started charging sales tax on it. I know of 2 spaces that are presently not used all year because they have boots on the end of it. The current kayak rates are a cash machine to the park. The price to put 8 new kayaks down there is roughly $210. Your return on investment at a current rate of $30 is for 11 months. If you pay a $50 a year, which I would support very well, is paid off in 6 months. If you would increase it to $100 a year, that'd be $800 a year. We're not buying it, we are renting it. The maintenance of the rack is 15 to 25 years old, very little maintenance on it. If the park is going to start charging for horseshoes and bocce, I would agree with $100 a year. And I thank you for your time, thank you for all the effort that you do in the park.
Good morning. My name is Karen Baker, 2204 Minnesota Avenue. My question is for Dwayne. Have you heard from the Manatee County regarding the traffic study recently done on American Way and Canada Boulevard pertaining to stop sign placement? Thank you.
Pat Prosser, 6819 American Way. I want to thank the board for what you do. But when you're on the board, of course, there's ups and downs to what people think. And I would like, this is our 39th year at Trailer Estates. And when we first came here, I think the guests that come in paid $3. You're paying $5 now. You can't even go to a movie for $5. I think that needs to be increased to $10. Another thought I had this morning, and I know a lot of people don't like, but we just recently had family come in, and I would have been happy to pay $5 or $10 a piece when I took out their cards for guests, because they use our facilities. We could use that money to start a building fund. And I really think we need to get back to a future planning committee. We had that for years, and Janet Jones as chairman canceled it. So we don't have that anymore. But, and then I wanted to say another thing. We went to the Christmas party, and Gail got up and said it was so nice to have just Trader Estates residents. Well, the table behind us started laughing and said, well, we're here. Not a one of us lives in Trader Estates. So maybe our fob system is not working. And another thing, I know we're under a garbage contract, but it used to be we all had 2 pickups. The Northerners got shut down to 1 pickup. I suggest when it's time to renew contracts, we all get 1 pickup. And I know it gets hot in the summer, but we have dumpsters. And thank you for listening to my complaints.
Barbara Morris, 1709 Pennsylvania Avenue. And I'm here again about the laundry. I don't know who else out there wants to continue to have the laundry, but if you do, you need to contact somebody or come to the board meetings and complain like I am. I don't know what the figures are. I've not had any contact with anybody to know what figures are on what the expenses are, causing the cost of the laundry to be excessive. Does the water meter for the laundry, does it have any other facility using it, like the post office, or is that particular meter for the laundry on a meter by itself? And I know we have the water that you can buy water. Is it paying, or does it need to be taken out? And if the revenue is a problem, about tearing off new homes, or not new homes, but when you buy a property and you tear off a home and don't put any back, how much revenue are you losing by all of those the older homes being taken off? And then I would like to mention that I think everybody that is employed here does a wonderful job, and you as trustees do a wonderful job too. But I don't know of any other business, and this is a business, when you have employees that pays full health insurance, and then when we have no revenue and have to increase the assessments, they pay full health insurance, they get that paid, they get bonuses, and I guess maybe some of the revenue can be improved by not having all of those benefits for and I think they're wonderful employees and do a good job. But I still don't know of any business that pays all these benefits for their employees. Thank you for your time, and anybody out there that wants to keep the laundry, you better come to the meetings. Thank you.
Pierre Ignazi Schaefer, 2207 Illinois Avenue. Thank you for your service, first of all. Just a question related to standing committees. I wanted to know if the standing committees are either covered, I'm assuming, a fidelity bond or by D&O insurance. So that's all I want to know. How are the standing committees covered?
Pierre, I'm sorry, you went through those just a little bit too fast for me.
Sure.
You gave two options.
Well, I'm not sure how the board's covered, so I'm assuming so you're bonded or fidelity bond, or you have directors and officers insurance. And I wanted to know if those extend, or how that extends to the standing committees.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments or questions?
Good morning, thank you for having me. I'm Cindy Slaughterbeck, 6615 Texas. I'm president of the Shuffleboard Club. I'm here to give some information and some response to some questions from last board meeting. We are here in promoting the game of shuffleboard, which is a low-impact strategic game that people can play up until they're over 100. We do that for fun, and we also participate in tournaments to keep the game alive. In the state of Florida, there are 20 district tournaments, 45 state pro tournaments, 28 state amateur tournaments, and 14 national tournaments. We sponsor 4 tournaments at Trailer Stakes. So out of 107 tournaments, we just sponsor 4. And we're just doing that to help promote the game of shuffleboard. When someone comes to a tournament, they pay $6 entry fee. If it's a state tournament or a national tournament, Trailer Stakes gets $1.50. That's our total income for that tournament. If it's a district tournament, we get $2. Expenses for a tournament, we supply coffee and donuts. We do put out a dish to try to collect revenue back for that, but we don't capture all of that. We also pay between $65 and $110 for beads, wax, chalk, depending on the wind. So as you can see, I'll give you some numbers. Our district tournament this year, we had 46 people. So that would have been $92. So as you can see, shuffleboard is not a money-making event, not for the players, not for the club. It's for promoting the game of shuffleboard. It also promotes our park. We have had folks from the East Coast this year look at properties here because they like our program. So every house that's for sale has pictures of the marina, the shuffleboard court, and the pool. It promotes Trailer Stakes, and that's what we're all about. It's not for money. Thank you. If you have any questions, let me know.
Any other public comments or questions? Any other public comments or questions? Any more public comments or questions? They're closed. Response from trustees. Sandy?
No.
No? Steve?
I don't have anything to offer or add, but just to mention that the laundry will be discussed, I think, with the budget today, if you want to stay around. And I think the last board meeting, Mary commented on the pay package for the employees, and it was fairly comprehensive. I would encourage, to maybe watch channel 732 or attend the board meetings, and a lot of that's information that is already out there.
Mary?
I will repeat again the compensation plan for our employees. It's probably the 10th or 15th time I've done it, but I did a study of jobs in the area, right down the street, and of people who do similar jobs to ours, what their hourly pay rate is and what their benefit packages are. And when we set the hourly rate for our employees here, I took into consideration the fact that they have a fantastic benefit plan. So if down the street with an 80-20 plan, you're making $15 an hour, I'm just using these as examples, our employees are only making like $12 an hour because we give them benefits. So the net is not any different than an 80-20 plan that you can get down the street.
So people see that we get 100% benefits, what they're not understanding is their hourly rate takes that into consideration. So it's equitable. It's equitable. They're not getting anything they can't get right down the street. Let's see, the laundry, yeah, I believe the shutting down of the laundry or whatever is squashed. That's not even a topic anymore, so, but we'll talk about that more at the budget. The kayak rentals, again, that was brought up at the last budget meeting. I put some numbers together. This will be the first time that we'll be discussing the impact of that and deciding whether or not we're going to do anything with it. Although I take that back, that one we're putting in place. That one we decided not to discuss. Okay, well, we can get back to that. Pier, very good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I've got to go back and look at our directors and officers policy. I know they're not bonded. Only the trustees have bonds. But good question. Let me look into that. Thank you.
Ward?
No comment.
Dwayne?
Karen, on the traffic study, if everybody noticed about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, there were the survey lines that ran across American as well as Canada Boulevard. They were in place for just a little over a week. They were removed last week. What's happening now is Jeff Bishop from the Public Works Department and a whole bunch of other people on traffic studies, planning, waters and everything else is meeting on that. I should be hearing back from that in the next couple of weeks, knock on wood. But nothing as of today to tell me what those actual figures were of the number of traffic that went across it. I think that was the only one I could answer. Yeah, that was it.
The only thing, Barbara, when a home's removed and not replaced, we lose an assessment. So that's what we lose when a home's removed and not replaced.
Can I ask a question?
No.
No, you can't. Sorry. The last meeting, there was somebody that asked about the budget and when they could be heard. You had an opportunity this morning to ask us questions about the budget. You can give us comment on the budget at the end of the workshop today, and there will be a public hearing on March 23rd on the budget as a whole. We are looking into bonding. I have the office manager looking into the bonding issue. We are in contact with the person that provides us the bond for the standing committees, because that's been raised before, so we are looking into that. As to the kayaks, bocce and horseshoes are a club, kayaks are not a club. The issue is vacancy. We have ones down there, there's at least 6 of them that I've counted that are rented, but there's no kayak on it. This prevents other people from using the kayak racks because they're being rented. One of our efforts is to have people that want to rent the kayaks actually have a kayak in the rental and not just rent it for the season. That's why we're changing that part of the program, and that's why we're increasing it, to encourage people that want to have a kayak to use the kayak racks and not to keep them vacant so they're just using them 3 months out of the year. That was one of our intents behind the kayaks. Lori's handled the issue of the tax assessment. We have a total of 8 employees here in the park. 4 are full-time, 4 are part-time. It's only the full-time employees that get benefits from us. As to the health insurance, we pay just the employees' portion of the health insurance. The employees, if they got spouse or children, have to pay that out of their own pocket. The bonus is not much of a bonus. It's $100 to $200 depending on years of service. That's the essence of the bonus. To use government as a basis for your government is kind of an oxymoron, considering 70% of all businesses go out of business the first 5 years. That's just my personal comment there. Planning committee, you see us here, there's a total of 9 board members. We're busy enough. I mean, I've thrown the offer out to the audience or the residents here in the park. If they want to put together a planning committee, I'm more than willing to let them have a planning committee. When they come up with a proposal, a detailed proposal of what they would like to see done over 5 years, we're more than willing to listen to it. But it should come from the residents, not from the trustees. Everybody keeps on talking about transparency of government. We all sat here last meeting at the workshop, and at the end of the beginning of the workshop, there was one person in the audience. Now, I don't know how many people were on the TV watching it on 732, but physically there was just one person here. Okay, if you want transparency and you want participation, you got to be here. We can't hear you from the TV set. And we'll move on. That's the end of that. Moving on, approval of minutes from the Board of Trustees.
Hang on, give me just a second.
Sure. February 17th, 2020. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
Mary, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Gordon?
Lori, on the, you're talking about just the
board
just
minutes,
the board minutes, not the
not workshop. We'll handle that
the
next.
notes for the candidate interviews.
We'll do that later.
Okay. At the trustees meeting, there was a motion to appoint Herman as moderator.
Yes,
So I think that should be added to the.
it is. It's in here. Okay, this says he was the
Yeah.
moderator.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
They
it
had something
doesn't
to
mention
say.
the
The board
motion.
approved him as the moderator. Second, right after roll call, candidate interview is open. In between there, you should have something that says that.
Well, don't say something, tell me what to write.
Uh,
Because it has to be in the
Board,
verbiage.
okay, board. Gordon made the motion? I don't know who made the motion.
I'm not sure.
I don't know who made the motion. The motion was made to appoint Herman Schwartz as the moderator for the candidate interview. It was second and it was approved.
Can I just say, we're conducted with, board-approved Herman Schmar as the moderator?
I can live with that.
Will that?
Well, aren't you supposed to actually record it as a motion in the minutes? So it was a formal action.
Might have to go back and look at the tape to see who made the motion to second.
And I can certainly do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take care of that. I'll put, the motion was made by who made it, who seconded it, and then we all approved it.
Right. Anything else?
I think there's between the notes for the candidates
We're not
interviews
we're not-
and the time that's in the minutes, there's a difference. I'm not sure which one is correct.
Well, it doesn't make any difference. Those are just notes. The interviews were just notes for the board. They're not minutes, so it doesn't make any difference. What the minutes say is what it was.
Well, did we end that part at 11:05 or 11:15 is the question then?
11:05. So that's what the minutes say.
Well, these say we resumed at 11:05.
Resume.
So we would have stopped
Stopped
at
at
10:55.
10:55. You want us to put in there 10:55?
Put in whatever you think is right.
I thought it was okay the way it was, or I wouldn't have submitted it, so I'm the wrong person to ask.
Anybody else have any questions on it? Anything else?
So we're leaving it as is? Okay.
With that, all in favor of approving the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Object? Nay? Motion's approved. Moving on to the Board of Trustees workshop minutes for February 17th. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
Mary, second.
Second.
Pete, discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And then we're gonna move to accept the notes from the candidates interview of February 17th, 2020. Do I have a motion to accept the notes? Dwayne, do I have a second? Mary, all in favor, discussion.
We really can't discuss or submit a note, we just have to accept it.
There is an error on this. This is where your name is spelled wrong.
And that doesn't matter, because she submitted these, we have to accept them as submitted. I don't think we can modify her.
No.
And especially if it's only my name, I'm okay.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries.
Give
Treasurer.
me a second, I gotta catch up with the.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report. As of today, the checking account balance is $20,212.70. The investment account balance is $1,285,924.32.
We have a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
Wayne. Discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any bills?
No bills due.
Moving on, are there any trustees comments, or you just want to go to information reports from trustees? Let's go on to information reports from trustees. Pardon me. Gordon?
One of the recent issues that's been brought up is coyotes that have been observed in the park. I talked with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, and basically there's little and nothing that can be done on a practical basis. They believe that if a coyote was removed, there's just another one that's going to come and replace it anyway, so even trapping them and relocating them is not a successful option. They do advise that while they don't normally attack pets, keep your pets close to you, even if they're out on your extended leash, like a 20-foot leash. They're more subject to the interest of the coyote, but if there is a coyote in the vicinity, keep your pet close, and if the coyote approaches, they advise to make noise, wave, and shout at it, and it's likely to be startled and go the other way. But there's really nothing that can be done because they're everywhere, even in the heavier populated areas like Pinellas County. So it's not necessarily the answer that we prefer to have, but that's what the state has to say about that. And there's a continuing number of issues around the park with some of the lawns are needing attention, and there's still boats that are stored improperly on property, and letters are still going out to people to correct those actions. So please pay attention, try and follow the rules. Thank you.
Dwayne?
I also spoke to the Fish and Wildlife. I have a letter from them that is posted in on the bulletin board there. It says what you can do to avoid contact with the coyotes. Again, the first thing out of her mouth, the biologist, was to hire a trapper. Then she went right on to the next breath and said that even if you did trap one, you're probably 7 or 8 more than you're sitting right there. But I do caution that over here where Rice's appliances at, they're building the storage lots that took away the habitat of where the coyotes used to live. If you don't have the skirting around your house like you're required to have, they will bed and breed underneath your trailer. So again, watch your pets, and what Joseph said, they will not normally attack humans, but they will go after your cats. Quit leaving the cat food, dog food, and everything else out on the carports. If anybody wants a copy, I have an extra one up here also. As most people know, I had an incident at the pool last week. There were containers of liquid, I'm not going to say it was alcohol, water, whatever, but at the jacuzzi, there was 5 people or 5 individuals that had their containers relaxing and just drinking out of plastic containers. A pool monitor was notified, he came over, asked them to remove it. The owners of the property also took offense at the tone of what the pool monitor had addressed the situation. From there, the voices escalated. In my opinion, I think the situation by the monitor could have been handled a little bit different. But again, I have to emphasize to the owners, you know you can't have drinks sitting right on the edge of the pool or the jacuzzi. Just this Sunday, we had another incident in the spa area. We have kids that are jumping into the spa. It's just normal, you just don't do that. A resident, which I am just thrilled at, but a resident walked up and tried to correct the situation. I can't repeat what the owner said, but I can sure gesture it. But this is the type of attitude that we're having at the pool. I have the regulations. Later on, I think we're going over the workshop that we're going to be addressing the pool rules. There's a couple of changes that I'd like to make in that, so I'll discontinue this one here. But as an owner, please read the rules and regulations of what we have here at the park. Enough said. It's irritating at the top. That pool monitor did resign over the situation, so I'm short of a pool monitor now, but that's okay. I also received a complaint from the pickleball president. I also came in this morning, I see that he is wanting to meet with all the trustees and has provided the complaint letter to the other trustees. What I see with that, or I met with him last week, I met with Mark, who then addressed that situation with the numerous complaints that he has in here. Mark went back and talked to his staff. A lot of the implementations in there are false. I've also talked to some of the pickleball players on the attitude of which the maintenance staff addresses the pickleball players. I'm getting mixed responses of that is not true, of some kind of an attitude. There are instances of where we have triple booked the large hall. There's been, and I'm sorry, I looked at the schedules there once, I was told that. I don't know how to help you do it, but it's amazing. But we've also had jazzercise that wasn't scheduled, that Mark and his crew had to come in and absolutely tear down the netting and everything else for that. I see a personality conflict. I can tell you that Mark and his staff are one of the hardest working crews. Even this morning, we have the bocce tournament, we have a fish fry, we have pickleball set up. Mark and his crew came early to take out all the chairs and tables early in the morning so they would not disrupt pickleball. But I don't see that in his letter coming back as a complaint. The other complaint is they had one of our maintenance staff came through and they turned the air conditioning up. Normally it's kept in there at 65 degrees, so you don't sweat in pickleball. I don't understand that. But the reason that thermostats were turned up is because this board had a discussion on setting and putting lock cables over it. It was also announced that you can't put locks on them because the thermostats are sitting right on the cinder block. If you do that, the middle of the large hall is at one temperature. It's 85 degrees on the walls, so you have mixed. So that was the reason that the individual came through and turned up the thermostats, is because of what we had discussed here. Not because he was trying to have an attitude to say pickleball owns the place. It irritates me when I hear that. But with the rest of the trustees, if you want to meet with, I think his name is Mr. Butcher, please be my guest, but I have gone through several different things. I've met with the pickleball people. I plan on continuing meeting with the pickleball people on some of these complaints, but I'm finding it to be a personality conflict, and I think it's a disrespect to the maintenance staff. While I'm on a roll, the dumpsters. We have the individual across the street that totally went through and renovated the house. We had to take an additional 2 dumpster loads out, which is costing us, it will cost us money. Right now I see there's a load of bricks sitting over there for, blocks. I hope those do not go into the dumpster. I'm hoping that the South trustee goes over and chit-chats with them, because it's their opinion that as an owner, they can go ahead and use our dumpsters. Last year or earlier this summer, we had rewritten that policy that if it's a major renovation, you have to get your own damn dumpster. You can't just continuously go over and dump it. Even after the maintenance crew went over and asked them not to do it, they kind of did the same thing and said, we're going to do it anyway. That is the attitude of the park. I'm getting frustrated with it. I'm sorry, going back to the pickleball, I would also want to say that Mark and Lori, with the number of schedules, the number of events that we have, they actually sat down and found the pickleball residents an additional 61 hours of play. But it's still a complaint that we don't have enough.
And that's just for March.
And that's just for March. But if you take a look at the calendar, what Lori has to put up with, it'll have today and 17 additional events. What I would like to see is if the pickleball is scheduled from 1 to 2, that I have some time frame for the maintenance crew to come in and set up for the next one and tear down the pickleball. So it's not directly from 1 o'clock and the next crew walks in at 2 o'clock and there is no availability because we're still trying to switch that around. So
Yeah,
maybe we could work on that later,
Yeah,
but
we'll
that's down the road. I've already addressed the, I have to calm down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The study, the traffic study, that I'm sure will be coming in the next couple of weeks. Just another update on the Marina Ford State Department. I received a 330-page report. It's in the office if you want to sit down and read it. It's good. The bottom paragraph, though, it says that a letter has gone back to the state of Florida, and that the odors and everything are on the decline with the 8 different wells that they put in, and they're just recommending that for the next 4 months, or I'm sorry, for the next 4 quarters, that be monitored and then taken off the list. And with that, I will pass on.
Sure. One thing addressing Dwayne, I need residents, when you fill out your PP37s, which is your room reservations, the instructions say that you have to ask for all your time. So if your event is going to end at 4 o'clock, that's not the end of your reservation. You should be asking for an additional whatever time it takes you to clean up. Because when you say your event ends at 4 o'clock, I'm expecting you to be out of the hall and all of your stuff out of the hall at 4 o'clock. And so that's where we're running into some bumping together of conflicting times. Is I'm expecting you to be completely done when you say when you're done with your reservation, and that's not what's been happening. And it's not just one person. It's a trend. So please, as you do your reservation requests, add a little extra time. If you need time to come in and do setup, you want to put some balloons up or something like that, I need those times. And I need to know how long you're going to be after your event closes, getting it cleaned up so that somebody can come in after you. And that will help me as well to make sure that I've got that time taken care of. And then due to the file size of our last meeting, it took an excessive amount of time to get it up on the website. It's done. I need to remind residents that other than memorials, without a week's notice, the halls may not be used. Residents are not allowed to wander in and utilize the halls. They are not allowed to rearrange the room setup without prior approval from me or Dwayne. And most importantly, please treat our maintenance staff with respect. This crew has a hard enough time having to answer to 9 different trustees and their 9 different ways of doing things. I shudder to think of having to attempt to follow 2,500 different instructions. I'm not always going to make everyone happy, and neither are they. If you have a problem, do not discuss it with the staff or take it out on them. Come to me or Dwayne. Allow us to address it. And my phone number is 810-955-9267. Next, the board received a very nice thank you from our Bayshore neighbors, thanking one of our residents for their quick action to report a trespass issue on Bayshore property and the island. Several individuals were arrested as a result of that. I'm accepting the recurring reservations through April 30th, 2021. Please be sure to include your bylaws and current officers list, or for less formal groups, your PP39 with your reservation request. I do not have reservations, bylaws, officers, or PP39s for the following groups: Art Expression by the Bay, China Painting, Dates for Girls, Girl for Skill, Advanced Pickleball Play, Hand and Foot, Mahjong, Men's Bible Study, Neighborhood Watch, Pottery Class, Sharecraft, only the monthly meetings. I've got Sharecraft, everything else except the monthly meetings. Shuffle Club meetings, and Wii Bowling. If any of these groups no longer exist, please let me know. I need a PP39 from Copper Enameling and Meditation. And thanks to Pickleball for waiting until I have all of these preceding reservations before we have our meeting to schedule your stuff. And I think that's it.
Sandy?
Okay. Our next show time is going to be Thursday for the Mummers, which consists of the string bands and comics and fancy brigades. That's on March 5th at 7 o'clock. I appreciate the attendance at showtime. We had very good attendance, and it seems everybody having a good time. The next Saturday night dance is with Richie Hodges, who is a DJ, from 7 to 10. Again, we've had great attendance at the dances. We only have 5 left, so come on out Saturday night and enjoy your park Saturday night dance, which is free to residents and $5 to guests. That's a real bargain. The next thing we're going to happen is on March 19th, the Chuck King Comedy. And it is being sponsored by the fire department. And he presents an engaging show that is a unique blend of comedy, magic, and hypnosis. So everyone should be able to enjoy that also.
Okay, thank you for that. The last one was basically the non-park function section. The fire department's putting that on.
No, it's not the
Fire.
I'll correct it. I'll correct it. It's my turn.
Okay. Pete?
Next coffee break will be Saturday, March 21st. Fun Band will be our program. Ticket sales will be at the post office from the 12th to the 19th, from 10:30 to 11:30. And our next potluck will be on Tuesday, the 17th of March. That's it.
I have a question. Is there going to be a St. Patrick's Day festival?
Having fun with that.
Mary?
Mary, budget, contract with Waste Management is up for renewal, so I'm starting to work on that. Contract with the laundromat will be up for renewal in the next year, so haven't started working on that yet, but we'll need to. Asset inventory, really budget right now is my main concern. And I just want to clarify, Sandy, thank you for bringing up the Chuck King event on March 19th, but it's being sponsored by a group of residents. who joined together because they wanted to do something to fundraise for the fire department. It's not run by the fire department. We're local government just like we are here, so we can't do fundraisers. But there is a group of residents that wanted to support the fire department. So they have hired Chuck King to come join us on March 19th. He's a comedian, he's a magician, and he's a hypnotist. So something a little different than we've had in the park for entertainment. And tickets are on sale at the post office, but just wanted to clarify that.
Have any of you board members had any contact with our attorney since the last meeting? Thank you. The cable contract expires on May 1st, 2022. It has an automatic renewal provision that it provides you have to give 90 days notice, I think is what it requires in the contract. The garbage contract expires February 1st, 2021. That was from last meeting. Gordon brought up about the coyotes and the dog leashes. A reminder, that 8-foot leash is the maximum you're allowed to have your dog out or cat extended on. And with the coyote running around, I think an 8-foot rule is probably a good idea. That's it for me. Moving on, beautification committee.
Yes, I have an apology to make. The Veterans Breakfast is not for the public. It is for veterans and their spouse, which is free to them. But in order to find the time and location, you need to call Dottie Deerwester. Okay? And then Malibu Boys tonight from 7 to 10, our last summer concert. Tickets, we have a few, about 50 tickets left. They will go on sale at 6:30 tonight at the door. Movie night, we're having a movie night called The Long Long Trailer, and it's going to be on the 20th of March from 6 to 9, and there will be some refreshments available. Our monthly meeting of the Beautification Committee is on the 4th Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And let's see, we have had 18 new names to the Sunset Walkway added in this past year of 2019. We've had 18 new bricks put down at the of the Sunset Walkway. Okay, the Beautification Committee embarks on another year, and we want to thank all the folks that helped to support our efforts for the beautification and betterment of the projects in the park. I am deeply appreciative to our committee, the board, and all the wonderful volunteers for making our events possible. This is from Sandy Stevens, who is the chairperson. That's all.
Any old business? I don't think we have any. No. New business, update rates for storage lots, boat slips, canoe/kayak rack. Mary?
Yes, I make a motion that we update the storage lot, boat slip, canoe, kayak rack, PP 21 to increase rates to $10 a month and $100 annually, as discussed at the February 17th, 2020 workshop.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Keith, second. Discussion. Gordon?
I had a question of why we're updating this now when we have some of these other rates. This is only an update for the kayak rates, as I understand it. And we're discussing possibly raising some of the other rates as well as part of the budget process. So I'm wondering why this, to me, this sends a message that we're not going to change those other rates for any of the other storage or marina slips. So I didn't know why we're doing this at this point when we're still discussing the budget.
I had the same question. And I know we discussed at the last meeting, and I probably misunderstood, but to me, this is still part of the budget, the same as what it would be for the boat slips and storage lots. The public would still have the opportunity to come in and give their presentation at the public meeting. So I don't know, I had the same question.
I thought that we were doing this because there's so many spaces that are empty that never have a boat on them, but they're being paid for because it's so cheap. And just keep it, because someday I might get a kayak. And there's other boats that are on there that are rotting away on the rack. They're not being used, and we were trying to, like, I thought, have those people want to vacate and allow those that are actively using it be able to store their boats right there by the water.
Yep, I agree
Was
with
what,
that.
what I thought we were doing, and that didn't have a timeline, that had nothing to do with budget in my head. That was trying to resolve an outstanding issue.
Yep.
And that's why we were doing it, so.
And as well as the 26 people that are still waiting to get on there, but it's still a part of the budget process, I think it is anyway.
I have no problem scrapping this and making any changes in total when we do the budget.
All right, so
I'm fine
you're
with that.
gonna,
Anybody else? I thought our intent was basically to provide an incentive for those who have used the kayak rack for storage, convenience, not for use, and to instill upon those that have no kayaks, have rented the space, maybe think twice about continuing it. From a budget standpoint, it doesn't raise a lot of money. I mean, it's minor in the amount of money it raises. And we're coming to the end of the season. If you put it in the budget, it wouldn't take effect until October unless you separated it out. At least that's my understanding of what was taking place with regards to the kayaks. Again, if you want to move the budget, that's up to you guys. What do you want to do?
It was intended to address the large waiting list that people have been on for a very long time with no end in sight.
Well, I think that because it's part of a PP that has other rates on it, I prefer to address all the rates on that PP at one time. And I don't see why it can't be effective when we pass it. And if that's, and I suggest that should be at the same time as we're finalizing the budget.
We could just take a vote and see
I
what
would say
passes.
we need to take a straw vote and go down the table and find out who wants it, not now or now.
Or just take an official vote.
Take an official vote, move one way or the other, up or down.
Yep, okay.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand.
So I've got-
1, 2, 3.
I've got Pete,
Pete, Sandy, yourself, and me. And those against, you got Gordon, Dwayne, and Mary. So the motion passes. Moving on to the next issue, update disaster preparedness plan, Dwayne and Lori.
You want me to take it?
yeah, go ahead, you make the motion, somebody.
I make a motion as follows to update the disaster preparedness plan PP20, changing the public relations North trustee references to the maintenance trustee on pages 2 and 5 and discuss it as discussed at the February 17th meeting, 2020 workshop. And when I went through,
We gotta do a second.
oh,
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mary seconds. Go ahead, Dwayne.
on the discussion, I must have read through this thing 15 times, but the first thing I seen in paragraph 1 was I had a typo. It's the very last sentence that says readily available to provide their service, and that's referring to the firehouse, so it should, the A has to come out of there.
Okay, gotcha.
And then, I don't know if this is really a typo or not, but on the second page, the bottom paragraph, it says the maintenance dash trustee, is that
It's
just
a,
a
it's
typo?
a,
or is
no,
that part of the-
it's a bold underline where the new data was underlined, and
Okay.
I missed the space in between the words being underlined still.
Okay,
So that needs to come out.
Okay.
Any significant changes?
No, and then I just had one other clerical one that was on
Page 12.
page 4. The very first sentence, in this day and age, Traverse State is not just vulnerable to hurricanes, it should be a period. It also then goes flooding,
Gotcha.
ice. I know I've read this
We'll
thing
fix it.
15 times a week.
That's okay.
But anyway, the whole thing has been updated. It will have to be changed again once we appoint whoever is going to be,
But we only have to fix the first
yeah,
page
just
on that.
fix the first page, that'd just be a clerical and switched automatically. I don't know if there's any other questions, but we don't have just a hurricane problem as a preparedness. In the back of this, there are different responsibilities for all the different trustees, because if we had a tornado come through here or a tropical storm and had the flooding, every trustee would still have to have their contents taken care of. So, this is supposed to be brought again in the April meeting. If I can do all this stuff, then we don't have to address it in April because it's already been reviewed by the Board of Trustees. So if there's any other comments that I may or may have missed, please.
On page 13, goal G, I think the word, in the person responsible, I think the word north should be struck from that as well. It should just say public relations trustees.
That's our word.
So you're saying just strike the word north?
Yes.
Okay.
And on goal F, just above that on page 13, it says implement committee involvement during recovery. And I don't see a reference to what committee that's referencing. Over in the right-hand column, person responsible, it talks about a website committee. As far as I know, we don't have a website committee.
Well, no, but, yeah, I would say it might wind up being that people are pulled in, and I may have to pull 3 or 4 people in to help me get the website and keep things current on the website. Same thing with the art committee. I don't think it's a named committee. I think it depends on the instance, what's going on, what has to be done, and who has to do it.
Well, I think committee has a legal definition in our bylaws, if nothing else, and also under the Sunshine Act.
Let's strike the word committee behind website.
All right, what about under goal F?
That's what I thought.
Well, goal F here in the titling, are we striking it from the title?
No, because the art committee is a committee.
Right,
No, but in,
So
The
that's all I
art
have to
committee
do
is
is-
a committee unto themselves. We have no control over that other than appointing them. The website is handled by the website trustee, which happens to be the secretary. So I guess
So
we
we-
eliminate the website committee in its entirety there. And
okay,
the
so,
trustee's website,
okay.
and then the art committee.
for the title of F, then should it specify the art committee?
It does.
It
Well,
does,
not in the title.
it doesn't have to in the title, it is in number 3. Implement the implement architectural review committee procedures for posting disaster applications for approval. That's where they get involved, so it is a committee, it doesn't have to specify beyond that. Any other,
Yep.
What,
And then-
what, Mary?
On C,
I'm
goal
sorry.
C,
on goal
page 12?
C, page 12, we need to identify a backup. We have a treasurer, office manager, but we don't have a backup identified. And on A, we don't have a backup identified. Do we need to identify a backup?
You'll have it on B too.
A lot of times that depends on who's here. And all I can say is, speaking to Irma, we could have said that, sorry, nothing personal, Bruce, we could have said Bruce was responsible for months before that happened, but Bruce wasn't in the state.
Gotcha.
So he couldn't be. So these are things that we understand, we have to identify them, but they're on the fly of who's available.
Okay.
The first person on site is going to be your command center, and then that individual is going to start trying to pick somebody to.
Okay,
Right.
all right,
for.
perfect.
But, yeah, now, do I need to redo my motion to say with the clerical errors or clerical
Since,
typing?
since
I don't
they,
want to bring it back.
since they didn't change the flavor of, they just made corrections. I would think that the motion can stand as it is.
Yeah, so once it's approved, then I meet with the maintenance staff to make sure they have all their stuff set, as well as the fire department. We're going to have a meeting there to match their preparedness plan with what we have here, so we're good with it. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Reports from clubs and organizations. Go ahead. This is the reports from clubs and organizations. Yeah, you can come up.
Yeah, when they're done, I'll get mine in.
Barbara Morris, 1709 Pennsylvania Avenue. I'm here to report on the Bocce Club. We had Opposite Hand Day, which was a fun day. We had the activity fair. It went very well, and thanks to everyone who put that together. It was very nice and was well attended. And I thank the people that sat at the bocce table and informed everybody about what our club's about. And then we had the U.S.-Canada tournament. We had to postpone it from the 21st until the 28th. And the Canadians did very well. God bless them. And we're having club members tournament is the 13th. To be able to play, you have to be a member by March the 9th, so we can draw the team. And Les Solomon takes care of that. He does a very good job. And then our social is the 27th of March. We will be using the pavilion to have we put it down to one social instead of 3 a year. So it's going to be a very important social, and we ask all the members to attend and be there. And thank you for all your work.
Hang on just a second. The club members tournament, what's the date for that?
It's the 13th of
The
March.
13th, okay, thank you.
Mhm. Thanks.
Cindy Slaughterback, 6615 Texas Shuffleboard Club President. I want to thank everyone for attending our pancake breakfast. We had 169 people to attend, which was really great. We had our first annual Canada-U.S. Shuffleboard tournament. Canada won by 1 game. So that was well attended, and we've had a great season, and we appreciate everyone's support.
Any other clubs or organizations?
Is this workshop right?
No, this is not the workshop, this is the board meeting. All right. Any other?
I do have. Christmas dinner. We'll have our last meeting before fall on March 4th. That's this Wednesday at 10 o'clock, following Bocce's meeting. No need to come early, as we don't want to disturb Bocce, and please note there will be an Ohio Day follow-up at the other end of the small hall. It's too bad we don't have an in with the board secretary to avoid tight bookings of the meetings. I also want to thank Bocce and Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois Dinner for already making their donations for the Christmas Dinner 2020, and thanks to those groups that have promised to donate. Without you, this wouldn't be the great success that it promises to be. Thank you.
With that, Meeting's adjourned. 10:34. Let me call to order the Board of Trustees workshop for March 20th, 2020 at 10:45. Any additions to be added to the agenda? Any items? Seeing, moving on, update of rules and regulations, Part A, Dalton.
Okay. This is just a draft of what we discussed in the February 17th meeting. Where we're cleaning up the verbiage about the guest cards. And then I've added a section of visitors, so while Webster's definition of a visitor and a guest is identical, we're trying to delineate between the two when we talk about guest cards and visitors. So I've tried to delineate our definition so that we can properly identify individuals. And in doing so, that just rearranges all the section numbers. That's what all those little circles are down the page.
The main change, the one under visitors, you had, visitor is someone who joins a resident with an ID card. I'm assuming the ID card is with the resident.
Right, the
Correct?
resident has the ID card, right.
The function for only a limited number of hours on any given day. The visitors may not hold membership in, assume membership rolled in, nor conduct business of any kind in a club, organization, group, or activity.
And that was just picking up verbiage that was else for guests. If a guest with a card from the office can't do it, I don't figure a visitor that's coming in for a few hours ought to be able to do it either. That was just my, and please, this is just, so we're not walking in with a blank sheet of paper. If you guys want to change anything, speak up.
I'll try to talk.
Right. You will not hurt my feelings. Okay, you're gonna hurt my
Then when I'm, you know, months ago, we tried to do the guest card as well as the residence ID card. We put them on the lanyards and they were going to be held on. I just looked down, I forgot to put mine on again today. Going back to the pool issue, everybody that's going to use this facility must show their ID card. That is a problem for my monitors because nobody shows their ID card or carries it with them. I'm even going to go as far as probably 10% of the people forget to even bring their fob to open up the pool gate or even get into one of the doors here. I heard earlier that maybe the fob system wasn't working. It is working. How do we police that? Because you go to the pool, the monitor's there, somebody forgets their fob, they recognize the individual or don't recognize the individual. In fact, I stood there and watched the individual and I wouldn't let her in, and she started getting irate because I guess she was noticeable, I don't know. But how do you police people not using their fob to bring in their ID cards or even showing them when they come through a dance or something like that?
I guess
I'm sorry, it's a problem.
I agree, but I'm confused because we have a PP for fobs, and that's where we should be dealing with that, not
Yep.
here.
Well, I just,
Sorry, wrong.
the same thing, the ID card, you know, even coming into
Right,
the pool area, a dance,
We can make all the rules, but we can't make them
can't
follow.
make them follow them.
Got to be some personal responsibility someplace.
Right.
I think the chairperson has said it before, is you as an owner have to be responsible in reading the damn rules and knowing what you're supposed to be doing to follow them.
And then following them.
So I've
And
done
don't
it
just read
together.
them, follow them. Okay.
I'm
but
better now.
You're better now, all right. So you didn't hurt my feelings, but
No.
did you need anything changed in what I typed?
No,
Okay. You just needed to vent.
yes.
Okay, good. Does anybody need anything changed Or is it good the way it is to move it forward?
I do have a question. So if people from, I'm just thinking,
Where are you at?
I'm on page 2, section 1, same one.
Okay,
I'm on
so-
visitor. I'm on visitor. So those individuals from outside the park that come to Boomer, I'm not Boomer, Jammers on Friday. I gotta see what that means. It's function only for limited, if there's someone who joins. Okay, so they can come. I don't have to be here. One of my friends from outside the park wants to come to Jammers. I don't have to be there with that person. They can come?
I believe that Hope is the resident that invites them in.
Okay,
And Hope invites anybody who wants to show up at the door in.
okay,
And she will be responsible for whatever their actions are while they're here.
good, thank you.
Gordon?
On part, section 2, item D is struck out.
Yep.
And I didn't really see where there was any other guidance about how the card is issued, the guest card.
Well, first off, the part that struck out D is wiping out the need to sign a participant agreement waiver form, which has been waylaid. That form ceased to exist a while ago. We just never got the verbiage out of the document. So that's what the D is that's being struck. Now, the question is, what?
Well, how is the guest card to be issued?
If you go back on the first page, section 2, any individual for whom an adult property owner or renter resident with a current district identification card will sponsor and accept responsibility and accountability for both compliance with all the rules. It says it right there.
That talks about the responsibility.
Goes on, a guest card must be obtained from the trailer estate office prior to any guest using any of the trailer estate's common recreational facility without being accompanied by a property owner or renter resident.
So that's basically the direction how to get it, right, go to the office.
Right.
Okay.
Any-
So I can move this forward?
Any questions moving it forward? I'll wait.
Yeah, sorry, I gotta get my numbers caught up.
Okay, update of rules and regulations, part B.
Part B was, the things that we talked about annually, having a club group or organization provide a copy of their current bylaws with officers, and the less formal, using the PP 39, although it says it by title, not by number. And that they need to have a set of their rules on file in the office, and that was what we were talking about. We had said originally in the red book, and since I've started looking at this, I don't want it in the red book. Let's just have a separate book. We'll have one available in the office. We'll put it up on a website that has all the rules and all of that sort of stuff. That's where that was headed. And then the other thing that's being added is the delineation for visitors.
Number 3 on page 2. No?
Well,
That's
no,
different.
on page 1, this bottom part, it's added visitors. And then under section 4 on page 2, I just put verbiage in there to make it in writing, to make accommodations for memorials. Because we do actually not follow the rules for memorials, and I don't have a problem with that, but I wanted to put it in writing that that's one of the things that used to be an exception, but now it's in writing. And then removing number 3, the refundable deposit, that's not something that we've done for a while. I checked with TJ, so I wanted to get it out of the written word for that. And that's all the changes to part B. Unless anybody else has
Any
any.
questions, comments? Gordon?
Clarification on section 1, part F. Need to have a set of the rules on file. Do the bylaws of an organization comply with that?
Well, I don't know, it depends on what the bylaws look like. What this was designed, intended, when we talked about it. Euchre, we have a specific set of rules that we play with for Euchre on Mondays and Fridays. And we wanted a comprehensive book of the clubs, groups, and organizations and what's your rules, okay? So I would think that it would be different from bylaws. I would think that it would just be, for Euchre, it's the fact that we have unique rules where you have to have a natural in your hand to be able to order it up. So that type of rule is going to be written down, and so when you look at the website and you say, gee, maybe I want to go play Euchre, you can take a look at the rules for Euchre and go, that's too different from what I play, I don't want to go. Or you go, hey, yeah, that's cool, I'm going to go.
But I would expect some clubs, organizations that this would apply to do not have anything happening that has that kind of rules. They don't have anything
Okay.
that would resemble rules other than what they put in their bylaws about how they
Such
operate.
as?
Well, the computer club.
Okay? So wouldn't, just speaking off the cuff, okay? Wouldn't the rules for computer club be that you have to be a resident, you have to be a member to get member-to-member services, they offer member-to-member services, they offer these kind of services, this, that, and thus, and we have our meetings on whatever day of the week, first of the month, and, join us. You don't have to be a member for the training sessions. Isn't that your rules? I mean,
That's the content in the
Didn't-
bylaws. And
But that is a rule.
That was the
Right, all right.
question of what could the bylaws, and maybe I didn't word it quite clearly, but could the bylaws be sufficient to comply with this?
sure,
If
they can be
there's no other
sufficient,
rules?
but I'm offering a venue for all of the clubs, groups, and organizations to do a sales pitch on why they would want a resident to come to them. And if you think putting your bylaws up works for you, it works for me.
So
I couldn't,
I see it a little bit different. You're requiring them to provide a set of rules, is the way I read this. So,
But bylaws are rules. By their very nature, they are rules. This is what's going to govern us. This is how you participate with us. Those are rules.
then E and F are redundant.
How about the club that I just referred to that was joined together to do fundraising for the fire department? What would that document look like for that group? I'm confused on what would
you
need
have
to
to
be.
be a trailer state resident.
Okay.
And you have to, the
That's
purpose
about it.
of
Okay.
the club is to raise funds for the fire department. And so our sole focus is this, and so if your heart is for the fire department, join us.
Okay, all right. All right,
But
I just wanted to
that
know
would be your
what-
rule, is
Okay,
you have to have a heart for the fire department, and that's all we're doing fundraising for.
all right.
To answer your question, Gordon, if they provided the first part, the fact that they provided the first part would be the second part then. In other words, if they did E and provided that, and that was their rules, they would be in compliance with F.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to be sure that we're all understanding that that's the case.
So do you want to change the word need to say can?
No, because then that means they don't have to.
May have a set of rules.
Your example of a card club that has very specific rules, so I assume those wouldn't be any bylaws.
Right. They're not formal enough to have bylaws. So it's good the way it is?
Or I could say may have a set of rules.
Well, as
That's
long
what he's
as,
saying.
long as it's understood that the bylaws can comply with this.
Sure.
As far as the rules for the organization, I think that's okay, because you do need something to say how the other organizations that have very specific procedural kinds of things that aren't contained in the bylaw, how they operate.
Right.
Well, if we just take F and say clubs, groups, organizations need to have a set of their rules on file in the office unless covered by their bylaws. I mean, it sounds like we're playing semantics with the words, but at least it's covered.
Yeah.
Does that cover it?
Yes.
Anything else? So we're good to have this presented at the next board meeting? Moving on to number 3, rules and regulations, part C.
Yes, well, that's what I was tasked to do from the last meeting. And this is just cleaning up guest card information, the admissions.
Any questions?
On the definition of guest, it was touched on earlier, but this says that you must have an identification card, either a guest or resident, to use recreational facilities. Think about the Saturday night dances. I think we've got wording that says residents or guests, but we don't begin to identify the relationship of those quote-unquote guests, of whether they are a visitor or have a guest card. We simply allow anybody that comes to pay, we allow them in. It seems like we've got a conflict in our practice and our rules about only allowing guests by defining guests as someone with an ID card. Or is there something that makes a specific exception for certain activities? Good question.
Yeah.
Anybody got an answer?
But in A, didn't we identify who the property owner, the guest, and the visitors are?
I know trustees from time to time can make rules, and we made the rule for the dance to allow guests, or allow non-resident, non-guest to pay to play.
And I'm not sure we have the authority to do that.
Yes, we do.
You can make exceptions to our rules. In fact, we are the governing body.
So how do we want to change it, or do we want to change
Well,
it?
yeah, whether this needs to be changed or something else. If we're saying we do want the broader participation at certain activities, then it seems like we need to take a specific action to record that, or say that this definition of guest doesn't apply, or however we do that.
Because, I mean, this kind of brings into, like, tonight, Malibu Boys. I mean, there will be people coming to that concert tonight that are not park residents or
And it probably,
guests who have a guest card from a park resident. There will be people coming that,
and it probably applies to Showtime, and there might be some
Yeah.
other activities that it would apply to.
Then it would be all activities open to the public. Say
But
something
by
like
that,
that.
have we defined it, have we actually defined those activities as open to the public? Or is that what we?
But you don't need a guest card if you're accompanied by the owner.
Many of these people that attend are not accompanied by an owner.
Let's pick on the dance. The dance, John Smith from Sarasota can come here to the dance. He just walks in the door, he pays his $5, and he's dancing. But technically, Sandy, as the trustee responsible for the dance, she's responsible for all of those guests and their actions.
Me either, thank you.
Well, by the same token, the Malibu Boys, Sandy Stevens is responsible for those guests that she invited in, albeit she sold them a ticket to invite them. She's responsible for their actions and their activities.
Jammers.
So this
Same thing,
saying
Hope's
that they
responsible
are,
for jammers.
yeah,
The biggest, what I thought this was covering, and I guess maybe I was tunnel thinking, is when my adult son comes down here and visits, I can't hand him my fob and say, go on up to the pool, enjoy, kid, because he's not registered and I'm not with him. But if I register him in the office as a guest, I can go with him, or I can hand him the fob and his guest card and say, have fun, behave, because you're reflecting on me, and send him up to the pool. And so that's what I thought we were doing here, was saying, if you're gonna be accompanied by a resident, that's fine, but if you're not accompanied by a resident, you've gotta have a guest card.
Yeah.
So, but I would, like I said, I do see that I was tunnel visioning, but on those special events, are we not relying on, you know, Sandy being responsible for the people who come as her guests? She sold tickets, but they're still her guests. Visitors. I don't know. It's up to you guys. I just need to know, what am I doing with Part C?
Well, I think this actually doesn't even allow the visitors to
it's
attend.
saying they can't because they have to have a
Yeah,
guest card.
have to have a guest card. By
Admission
admission.
to and use of is restricted to those displaying a current district identifier card or a guest card. So if I don't have one or the other, I'm not allowed to walk through the
So
door.
maybe or visitor?
I think I got some language that may work.
Okay.
Especially event guests shall be the responsibility of the respective trustee for the event and not be required to obtain guest cards.
Can we change trustee to sponsor?
Yeah.
Sponsored by.
Yeah,
Because it's not always a trustee.
Okay,
Right.
sponsored.
All right,
As determined by the board.
and so we'll put that under section 1?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that'll address the issue.
Can you repeat that?
Special event guest
Hang on, slow down. Yep.
shall be the responsibility of the respective sponsor for the event. And will not be required to obtain guest card.
Prior to attending.
Prior to attending, or as determined by the board, and someone really goes down, as determined by the board, I don't know where that goes in there. Here at the beginning,
I think.
as the board determines special guests?
Yeah, special events as determined by the board.
Yeah, special events as determined by the board. That should address the issue. Want to read it back, I'll make sure we got it right.
I do have a question before we go on. If you say special events as determined by the board, so let's go to the TE residents who are fundraising for the fire department. Are they approved by the board? Because there's no trustee involvement. They're not like Sandy Stevens, who has the support of Sandy Simonich and the beautification committee. We're a group of residents standing on our own, and would that exclude us? Would we have to get permission from the board every time we go to do an event?
Basically, yeah, yes, and you do. When they come to you,
For the reservation?
reservation, and that comes up before you, you're gonna have to, they're gonna have, either you're gonna present it to us and say, this is going on because it's a special event, or we have a standing understanding that it's a special event determined by the board.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep, not a problem. All right, so what I have written is I have special event as determined by the board. Guests shall be the responsibility of the respective sponsor of the event and will not be required to obtain a guest card.
So a guest then would be all those paying customers who come in.
Yes.
At town.
At defined events.
Yeah.
So, this will move forward to our March 16th board meeting and be put in stone, and our event is March 19th. So I've got to get approval from the board to have my event.
Start making your heads on whether you're gonna approve that or not, you know.
So I have to kind of get that approved like yesterday. I've already got
You'll have to get it
in place.
approved, you'll have to get it approved in the 16th meeting.
You can add,
How do I,
But it's already
Do
in
that.
motion.
it's already in motion.
Tickets.
Yeah, you're already past.
I already have a contract,
Yeah,
I already
you
have
already got
selling
the
tickets. I'm
approval because it's
already-
already on the calendar.
Yeah,
I think it's for moving forward.
okay.
For future special
Right,
events.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I guess I'm just having a problem.
I know, I'm
Making
confused.
that
We all
group
just-
line up
yeah.
as a guest, to me, I see them as invitees. I don't buy the trustee, basically, and who's in charge, but to line it up with the definition of guest.
What if we call them visitors? What if we said special events as determined by the board, visitors shall be the responsibility of the respective.
Visitors and guests are the same thing.
Well, we made delineated differences in part A, where we defined a guest as one thing and a visitor as another, even though we said Webster's definition is the same.
Well, we define the visitor as someone who attends with a
With the president.
resident.
But the resident who sponsors the event is going to be at the event. That's one of the requirements of them doing a PP 37 and reserving it, is they have to be present and responsible.
So the group doing the fire benefit have formed as a informal club.
Yes,
So there's a trustee or a
No.
resident that's identified
right,
as leading that group.
right,
The one who filled up, signed the PP 37 is the one that's responsible.
yeah.
Okay.
So if we changed guest to visitor, would that kind of solve it in your head, Pete? Because I understand your confusion.
Yeah.
All right.
Or be a guest of the resident versus, or guest card is identified as that. So we're gonna, wait a minute, what are we doing here?
This is,
We were just adding text at the bottom, we weren't changing the text.
All right.
page at all.
that's the same, we're making an exception to this.
For special event.
Right.
Right.
All right.
Move forward for the next meeting.
Yep.
Next, I have the D, update rules and regulations, part D.
Oh, what I changed in D was I took out the rules where there was bocce rules and stuff. I took those rules out of D. And what I left in D were the things that the board is responsible for. We are responsible for the exercise room. We control who comes and goes, you know, what age they have to be. Same thing with the shuffleboard courts, the pool and jacuzzi, the wood shop and the kitchen. So I left, and overnight parking. I left all of those, but I took out some things.
And move
And
to the next one.
It's been a day or two since I did it, so I'm not sure what I moved out. Was I smart enough to put that in my notes? No. See if we can figure it out easy. The bocce ball game rules was one of them that I took out. The annual New Year's party, I took out. Let me go through the two things that I took out. Pardon?
Mingle.
Yep, I took these all out. So it was just trying to get D to line up with what we were doing. D is what the board's responsible for specifically, and moving the other stuff that is more clubs, groups, and organizations out and into that new place we're creating in a few minutes.
Any questions? Comments? Dwayne?
So when we look at the exercise room and the shuffleboard courts and jumping pool and jacuzzis, if I have concerns over the rules and regulations there, I should come back at next meeting.
No, we're getting ready to vote on that at next meeting, bring it up now.
Okay, I have.
Okay, which one? Pick a topic.
With this incident we had over this last week,
So we're on pool and jacuzzi.
pool and
Thank
jacuzzis,
you.
the 36 inches is fine. Right now I have Mark making up me a sign that's going to be placed on the front of the gate as you enter that you must take a shower. That's included with the Florida statutes. That is one of my main problems with the pool monitors, people just walking in and just jumping right into the pool. It's not so much to wash off the oils and stuff, but it is to wash off the feces, the perspiration, the dirt off your feet as you come up to the pool, blah, blah, blah. So that will be a mandatory that I will ask the pool monitors to watch.
Is
This-
that in here already?
Yeah.
Where's what, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Showers required.
yeah, showers required, so, but I am making up there
All right, that's
to
fine.
do that. The second thing in there is the Florida statute allows food and other things other than water. Does the board care if a person comes in with a, one of those, is it Yeti? Yeah, like that. Do we care if it's other than water inside there? Because somebody had made mention that it's an orange pop, I don't know, something different than water. I have talked to the monitors. I am not going to allow them to walk up and smell to see if that's liquid. That to me is absurd. But if I don't have any here that Yetis or containers that you can't see because it's saying plastic bottles, that, and again, that has to be 4 foot away from the pool deck or the wet deck. You can't be having that in the pool, it's got to be 4 foot back. I don't have a real concern with it, but it's one of the major problems that's causing problems down with the monitors walking, saying, hey, Joe Below, I'm sorry, but you can't have that Yeti there because it says clear plastic bottles. The only thing I do see is if you take a clear plastic bottle like that, freeze it, go down there, half an hour later, you have warm water. So I can understand the residents wanting to have something like that with ice in it and an insulated thing there. Food, I do have a problem with it because it's going to, but the state law allows me to have food down there. I've heard pros and cons, but I am not going to go down there every time because we do the pool, chemicals and all that stuff on the Tuesdays and close it. But if we start allowing food, the potato chips, the bugs, ants, all that stuff, I'm not going to have a maintenance guy down there doing pool work every night. Except for lockup and putting the tarps over on the 55. I would discourage the food even though it's allowed by the state. I'm going to catch flack over that too.
I
But-
support that.
The state allows beverages as long as they're not within 4 feet of the water.
Correct.
For both
Correct.
buildings, we could do.
And I will not suggest we put a pool bar, at the other end. That to me is just beyond reach. But I'm looking to help my pool monitors who are getting hammered okay, let's allow some of the other things other than plastic to make a difference here.
Let me ask you this question. Our seating arrangement is 4 feet away from the pool?
Yes.
I thought you said, do we need to paint a stripe around it?
Well, that was suggested,
No.
yeah, absolutely
They have to be
not. I'm
outside of
not
that?
gonna- yeah, absolutely will not do that.
Understanding that food such as potato chips, just thinking of a human being, just sitting on the table, you get a strong wind, are going to end up in the pool.
Correct.
Okay. Which means we're going to have to clean out that pool.
Correct. Sandwich wrappers,
All those plastics and everything
bits
else.
in there.
I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why, we didn't allow it, figuring that it would cause those kind of concerns. Again, maybe that's what we should allow, and let it happen, and then close the pool for a couple of days every time it occurs. You know, and that way the message may get out, and logic may come into play with some people that, you know, you shouldn't have food down here. Yeah, because I've heard the same thing from other people. They don't understand why we don't allow that, we don't allow food.
I'm not supporting of picnics at the pool. I just see that being a disaster, and the problem is that, little grandson Fred comes in and he throws his sandwich in the pool, and so now we've got to close down the pool. Fred left today, you know, he's leaving at noon, and he was down there at 10 o'clock before he had to leave, but who pays for that?
Yeah.
The residents that are here are paying for that.
But if I still want to point out though, is on the outside of the pool, when you exit the pool, we did put tables and stuff down there, or an area down there so you can get out and eat and then come back up, because I can just see a problem with it. Just like you mentioned, the kid gets up and pitches it.
Again, what are you coming down to the pool for? If you're coming down there to use the pool, why are you worried about eating and drinking? I mean, I get why people think they need it, but what was the intent, the original intent to have the pool? Well, to let you cool off, and you know, it wasn't made for you to eat and drink and all the other stuff. I mean, I really don't have a problem with, you know, aluminum containers. I'm with you about not, you know, going around sniffing people's glasses and sure if there's alcohol in it, because that makes no sense. What would you recommend?
I would recommend that we do allow the Yeti type coolers. And I don't care what beverages, if you want to drink something other than water, but I just can't see us enforcing that. If you stand up and are intoxicated and falling for it, well, my monitors will let me know about that, and I'll be the first one to be calling code enforcement, because that is breaking the law. But no food. If you want to eat food, you can still go on the outside of the gate.
How about if we change number 9?
Yep.
At the very end of the first line, it's ending, it says in water in clear, strike the word clear, and replace it with the word unbreakable. Come down to the second line and strike the word plastic. Come down to the third line, move across where it says water, it says in clear plastic, scratch that, and just say unbreakable containers of water allowed 4 feet from pool edge. And we're going to ask the residents to have it be water, and the monitors are not going to verify what's in it. Does that solve it?
I tried staying with you.
Sure.
So what I would like to do is just say no smoking, no animals,
All right,
no food except for outside.
see, this is what I'm doing, I'm striking that word and replacing it with unbreakable, striking the rest of that. You want me to read it? Because then the public gets to hear it too.
Yeah, to me, it's confusing. I'd like to take that, the accept out and put that in as a whole different system and just say, no smoking, no animals, no food, no coolers.
Period.
And period.
And then new sentence, beverages.
Beverages, because I don't care if it's a soda or not.
In unbreakable.
In unbreakable containers, doesn't have to be plastic, because I think those Yetis are unbreakable.
Or allowed within 4 feet of pool.
Right.
Or, yeah. In fact, I want to move cans up there too, because.
Up behind
cans-
coolers
Yeah,
and, coolers and.
Coolers and glass containers.
because cans do blow across, and one of the other individuals that was in the spawn did have a can sitting right there, but it was wrapped in a paper towel, so you couldn't tell what it was.
So you're gonna
And
change it.
glass containers, and then that would be a period.
So you're gonna say no smoking animals, food, coolers, cans, or glass containers permitted in the pool area.
Here.
Beverage, right, period. Beverages,
Yes.
except in unbreakable containers.
Just
Allowed.
beverages,
and unbreakable containers
unbreakable containers.
allowed 4 feet from pool's edge.
Correct. And in
I got it.
and then in the jacuzzi area, in certain spots, you can go 4 foot back, but I'd like to say just no beverages in the jacuzzi area.
So add that at the end of 9, add no beverages.
Am I getting it first?
I can do that.
Food isn't a concern.
What we said.
Well, there's, you can't
We already said no
have
food.
food. Okay, with that,
The question, so you're saying in the first sentence, no food, but we're allowing unbreakable containers. I see people challenging you on that because reading was unbreakable.
But we're making a distinction.
yes, because a tin can can sit on one of the tables, a gust of wind comes up and it takes off on a roll.
Right. But I'm looking at the language. Do we need to say something different?
Well, we already said the no cans.
Yeah, but
Right.
he's saying it's
Unbreakable
unbreakable
containers.
Yeah.
containers.
Other than cans? We need to get that specific.
In other unbreakable containers?
A tin can is gonna blow off the table and right into the pool, which means I'm gonna clean, so I still like to say no.
Does that fix it? Gordon's saying other unbreakable containers?
Beverages in other unbreakable containers.
So that means that it's excluded the
Other than
cans or glass.
To me, that's what it means.
Does that fix it for you, Wayne? Okay. All right, got it.
Now, the last paragraph down there, it says all residents are asked to enforce and/or report any violations of these rules and regulations. Please, if you're watching this on TV, please enforce that if you can. If you have a problem with that, my telephone number is on the Tribune and everything else. I'll even have my home phone, but just give me a call so I can go down and try to handle that with my pool monitors. The other thing there, it says there is a phone available near the jacuzzi area if you need assistance or for emergencies. The assistance, what is that going to be? Is that just because it's a 911?
That's becoming a 911 only, you need to scratch the
So just
word.
take, yeah, need assistance, I guess.
Need assistance
is
for
just
emergencies.
Need assistance for emergencies.
The other thing I tell residents, most of you have smartphones, take a picture. You don't have to confront them, take a picture. Take a video. Come down to the office, talk to Dwayne with it. Videos speak louder than anything else. You don't have to confront them if you don't want to.
And that was one of the other comments that was said there because a picture was taken, even though the resident said no, it's still in a public place. Pictures are allowed in a public place, you can't say no. A reminder, we still have the sign that says you're being videotaped. You can be recorded, the whole thing is perfect.
It's not a private pool, it's a governmental owned pool. And that makes the difference too. Anyone on?
All right, so we're ready to move with that one.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, update of clubs, groups, purposes, and contact information. PP 39.
Yep, that was putting the verbiage that we discussed at the bottom of it. That it has to be open to all residents, and that when they sign it, they've read the rules and agree to abide by them. That was what we discussed.
At the bottom of PP 39, we're adding note, to use district facilities or equipment, clubs, groups, and organizations, big bold letters, must be open to all residents without exclusions. Refer to rules for clubs, groups, and organizations for full details. And by signing this form, I state I am a resident, and I have read the rules and agreed to abide by them, and the resident must sign it. The only thing I would add to it is a date next to it on the other side, across it.
Okay.
So you have a date when they signed it.
That, normally that's the date
I
stamped
know.
into public record, but that's right.
Well, it may not be the same date. It can be, they may have signed it earlier, brought it into the office later. I just think that clears it up.
That's absolutely fine, not a problem.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
So I can move
We
forward
move
with that.
forward with that one. Update rules for clubs, groups, and organizations, PP 42.
And that was cleaning up again what we discussed at our last workshop, making that statement that DUV district facilities must be open to all residents without exclusion. It was also cleaning up, adding the annual and the word form, and also indicating that the clubs, groups, and organizations, that recurring use of facilities and equipment. So we tied in our equipment with the facilities. Not that I think anybody's used their equipment off-site, but that solves that.
And I have one. What if they don't come in and fill out? What happens to that group? Do we, the failure to provide one means the group no longer exists?
Means I'm not gonna do recurring reservations. So they can't use the facilities. They're not supposed to wander in. That was shut down a couple of years back. So effectively, I mean, they can still meet at somebody's house, but anybody can meet at anybody's house and they can do anything, well, they shouldn't be doing anything, but they can do most anything legal that they want, and it makes no difference to me. Does that
Yeah.
But if they don't do this, then they're not gonna get a spot on the website that says, here's what our rules are, this is what we do, this is what the purpose of our group is. No nice little quote unquote sales pitch, because we don't recognize them. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me.
Right, I'm trying to pull this all in, I'm trying to see your vision from, you've been after me for a while to get this done, and I finally get it, okay? Took a few smashes with the 2x4, but I finally get it.
I thought it was being too more gentle on that.
You were.
Any questions on that one? Should we move forward with that one?
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, create a clubs, groups, and organization, parentheses, CGO section in the red book.
I don't want it in the red book.
Okay, so scratch red
In
book
another book.
in another book.
And then this was just a draft, quickly grabbing a list of what I had for clubs and groups, and there's a lot of errors, like it still calls video/computer club. I grabbed an old list, my apologies. This is just a draft thought process. When I get to finalize clubs, groups, and organizations, by the end of April, take that list and assign it numbers like I've got here, and then move forward with putting those things into the book. And so what my vision right now had is it had bingo coming in as, what is it, number 6?
7.
I can't see.
6, you're right, 6.
As number 6, and then you've got number 7, which is the bocce, and then we jump to number 24, which is euchre, because that's the next one that's available. And this book will fill in, and we'll put them up on the website like we do PPs, and it will fill in as they provide their rules. I'm not going to go hunting and pecking for them. They've been asked to provide them, and as they provide them, I'll put them on the website, we'll put them in that book, and we'll have some sort of like a master list so we know who we recognize as a club, group, or organization that doesn't have anything in that section. We'll slowly work on getting it fixed. By this time next year, I would anticipate that we would have a full slate of what's on the computer, on the website, and in that book.
This section is labeled clubs, groups, and organizations, but the trustee events are listed on it also. It seems like either we need to change the title of this, or we should take off the trustee-sponsored events, because they're not a club, group, or organization.
What are they?
They're
Which
district
ones?
events.
Which ones?
Well,
They-
annual New Year's
Trustee
party,
meetings and.
Saturday night dance,
57 minutes.
showtime, the
there's
trustee
a
meetings
lot
and
of-
workshops.
What I thought we were trying to do is, I thought we were trying to put in one place a list of all of the activities that are available for a new resident, somebody who's looking to buy in the park, somebody who's been here for 5 years and is tired of sitting in their trailer. To be able to go on the website and say, what have we got? Here it is, what can we do?
That's a whole different concept than a list of clubs, groups, and organizations.
Well,
Clubs,
not
groups, and
just for the club.
organizations are governed by policy EPs 39 and 42. These trustee-sponsored events are not governed by those two documents.
So-
We shouldn't have it, try to have it both ways.
So we can go clubs, groups, board, sponsored, and organizations. Is that resulted? Then we're specifying
Clubs, groups, organizations, and
board sponsored.
board-sponsored events.
Activities or events.
Yeah. There we go.
Does that resolve the issue?
Yep.
Pete, you have something?
Well, I started to say, yeah, board-sponsored activities, but
Okay, activities or events, I don't use either one or.
All right,
both.
are we still gonna go with the CGO?
Yes.
Or do we need to say
No.
CGOT?
No, just go to CGO. The more initials you add to it, the harder it gets to
I
remember.
understand that.
I have no problem, unless somebody else has a problem with CGO.
And the list of clubs, you said you were in updating that, but I noticed the list of activities that's currently on the website was changed from 2018 to 2019.
Yeah,
But
you
it's
pointed
still,
that out. I caught it.
right, but it still didn't list the video club, or the computer club, it still lists the video club, and it did not list the Veterans Club.
I understand that. That was picked up from last year. I
They were
will be
both
working on
formed
a
prior
new.
to April of 2019, 2000.
I made a mistake, oops.
She says
I'll get it taken
she'll
care
correct it.
of in April.
That's fine.
My apologies.
She did say as she went through this, she would update it. Again, you can send her a note saying, oh, by the way, you missed this one. She can then correct it, doesn't have to come before the board to correct those kind of things. Are we good enough to go with that then? We move that one forward.
I do have one more question, just because it's gonna come up somewhere. I enumerated these events, and they're in alphabetical order. So if another event comes in that's a C, I don't want to shuffle these numbers.
They go to the bottom of the list.
Do you want them bottom of the list, or do you want them to come like an 11A,
No.
11B, bottom of the list?
Move to the
All right,
bottom
so
of the
new is
list,
bottom of the
then
list.
once a year, you can rearrange it.
Nope, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna
Okay, then fine.
renumber them.
Okay, fine, just move to the bottom of the list.
That's fine,
You know,
okay,
because you're right, otherwise they're constantly changing.
right.
Okay, identification of registered in trailer estates.
Okay, we know we have issues with dogs in the park, and every year, we go by the list of pets that are currently registered, and we ask them to update their information with us. And it's a lot of work for the office staff, and it's a lot of work for our residents to provide that documentation to us. But at the end of the day, we still just have the same dogs registered in the park, and we don't know which dogs in the park are registered and which dogs aren't. And I understand that we cannot require a dog owner to have a tag affixed to their collar that says that dog has been registered with the park and all the necessary documents have been filed. But we can encourage them to, and we can set a date that says, as of this date, if you have a dog and it doesn't have a tag that says the necessary paperwork has been filed with the office, that you can expect some action to be taken on the fact that that dog is here and not registered. Pretty much just somebody asking you to please get it registered. We're doing a lot of work and it's not going to get us anywhere at the end of the day to address the dogs in the park that don't have the documentation filed that says that they're an emotional support or service animal. So are we prepared to try to address that problem in the park? Or not, I guess is the big question. This is one way that we can at least identify those that need to be addressed. I mean, it's a deep violation if we don't address it, so. And the best way to address it is to ask those that are registered to put a tag on their pet's collar.
I agree with everything you're saying, Mary. I just feel my heart breaks for the residents who are doing it right, and they keep doing it right, and they continue to do it right, and they're asked to do one more thing to do it right, and the ones that aren't.
But if all I'm asking them to do is put a tag on their collar, and by asking them to do that, me as a dog owner who's following the rules
Right.
knows that it's just a matter of time before those who are not following the rules be required to follow them. So I'm not alone, and I'm being recognized for the fact that I am following the rules. So I would prefer to put a tag on my dog that says, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, why aren't you?
Yeah.
And when I'm out and I see a dog and I don't see that tag, I have the right to say, is that dog registered with the park? I don't see a tag. And the owner can say, yes, and I can say, well, where's your tag? I mean, and they can say, I don't want to put it on my dog's collar. And I can say, I can't force you to do it.
Right.
But understand, you can be expected to be confronted for people on a pretty regular basis.
Here's your problem with that logic. People that live over here that aren't part of the park can walk their dogs down the main roads of any of our parks. They don't have to have it registered with us, but they have the right under Florida law, because it's a public road,
Okay.
to use the road,
All right.
to walk the dog, and there's not a thing we can do to stop it. The other day, somebody from over there, walked right across the park area over here that says no dogs allowed. You could scream and holler at him, he just kept on walking. I don't know how it works great for the residents of the park, but you confront somebody from outside the park, and you're gonna raise a whole nother set of whole issues that could end up like a case that's currently going on for defamation of character, and all those kind of issues that can play into it. That's just my thought.
I think it is an issue in this section of the park. I think there's a majority of the park where it's not going to be an issue where people are going to be walking their dogs at non-residents of the park. There is, you're right. Bay Drive is going to be an area of issue and maybe a little bit here, but like on the other side of Florida Boulevard, I doubt there are people walking their dogs there that aren't park residents.
It would still be on public road. Maybe you guys can refresh it. I thought our district's council said we couldn't buy or couldn't.
We cannot force them to wear them. We can't require it. We can encourage it,
We can,
but we can offer them, we can encourage it, but we can't require it.
maybe we offer it, and that way, I've done all my paperwork the way I'm supposed to, and I'm walking Fido, and I've got this bright orange little tag, I don't know what color.
Whatever, yeah.
But something that is eye-catchingly obvious that I've done my paperwork. And if I want to get that as a registered, I can get that, I can hang it on Fido, and then everybody around me can see that I've registered it. But it's not a requirement. If you don't want to put that on your critter, and have that, right, whatever. You don't have to, and that's fine, but I can, it's an option for me to visually let everyone else know I've done all the things I'm supposed to in the office.
But how are we ever going to do anything about the dog problem in this park if we don't have a way of identifying who's
I
been
agree.
registered and who hasn't? And if we choose not to ever do anything about
I
it,
totally agree with you.
it's a deed violation. We
I
can
agree.
be,
We've done everything, no, it's not, you know, that's one person's interpretation that it may be a deed restriction. But have you done your due diligence? And I would argue that we have done our due diligence to the best of our ability, since we don't have a police force. We don't have any way of determining people who don't have dogs and cats that are registered, without going on and ringing on everybody's doorbell and saying, we'd like to see, you know, we see that you've got a dog, or we, you know, ringing their doorbell and saying, okay, do you have a dog or a cat? And we say on the list, they do, okay, fine, you ring the next one. I mean, that's the only way you're gonna do this, even with this proposal, other than saying, let's issue a license. And go on the route of an annual license. That has to meet the requirements of that. But again, how much work do you want to put on your staff if you already got it working? I mean, I get it. I'm probably one of the biggest proponents of, you know, changing as much as I can the service and the emotional support animals. People who aren't going to abide by the rules aren't going to abide, even if you require them to register it. I don't see where we haven't done our due diligence to the best of our ability, other than, you know, issuing a license for everybody that, you know, has an emotional support, but then you're punishing those that comply with the rules. I mean,
I know. So the fact that we've asked our dog owners to register them in the park, we're with the office, we're not requiring it, we're asking them. And that we are not doing anything to enforce the fact that there are people who have dogs who have not registered them with the office.
I just differ with you there. We have a current court case in which we have gone to court. We are enforcing the rule to the best of our ability. There's a court date, there was one court date that was canceled. They are in settlement discussions with the particular owner about his dog. Again, we asked him to fill out get the emotional support. He said, nope, take me to court. We had the attorney write him a letter. He said to the attorney, I'll see you in court. When we took him to court, all of a sudden he was getting religion and he wanted to get his dog registered. I told the attorney, talking back to him, I said, look at, he in writing has told us he does not have an emotional support animal. Now, either he's going to have this doctor lie for him, or he's lying to the court. You choose. So when we become aware of it, we do take the actions necessary to make them come in compliance. If we get a complaint, we go investigate the complaint. We determine if they're in compliance. If they're not in compliance, we ask them to come into compliance. If they don't come into compliance, we do take them to court. That's been my and your approval to take them to court to have them come in compliance. I don't know what other method you can really think of that says we aren't doing our due diligence. Now, if a resident knows of a person that has an animal that isn't registered, they have an obligation to come to us and say, hey, at 2107 Ohio Avenue, that man has a dog, that dog ain't registered, because I've seen them, running around, or I believe they don't. I've gone to the office.
I don't know.
I went to the office, I asked, the office said, no, they're not registered, here's my complaint, follow up on my complaint. That's the only way, it isn't our obligation as much as it's everybody's obligation to tell us when they see something, that's going on, say something, come to the office, find out. I had a person tell me a couple weeks ago that the person didn't have a registered animal. I said, did you file a complaint? Well, no, I want you to do something. I said, I'm not going to do something until you file a complaint. Now, maybe we need to make the complaint anonymous, that we can do. That's within our proverb to do, is to make the complaint anonymous, so that the person doesn't feel like they're squealing on their fellow resident. That we could possibly do. I don't see where we're not doing everything we could possibly humanly do. I mean, anytime we've had a dog issue, we took the one that went into the water, we took that one to court, we took this one to court. We are doing our due diligence
Okay.
on this, and it may not be the degree that somebody would like it to be, but I don't know what else we can do.
You're comfortable that we
But it
don't...
still has to be a written complaint, not
Yes.
an oral complaint.
Right.
And even the trustees, the North and the South trustees, whenever I was asked about that, I told them, no, that's an anonymous complaint. I don't have to declare who's actually written down the complaint. But it worked fine. I agree, I wish we could put a tag, spray paint, tail, I don't know.
I think there's an exposure here, but if nobody else thinks there's exposure, I'll let it go.
Well, there is exposure. I think we've given you enough arguments to say we've done our due diligence as we can, and if the residents see something, they have an obligation to tell us so we can do something. To say I'm concerned about something, and keep on going on and on about it and not file a complaint is basically, I want to spend some of your time and I want you to listen to me. I'm more than willing to listen to them, but I'm not going to do anything because you haven't given me enough to do something.
And it's the same with the dogs as it is with the underage children. They'll come to you and say, hey, there's an underage kid there, but they won't come in and file the complaint, so the right or appropriate trustee will go out and follow up with it.
I think we've beaten that one to the
Yeah,
record.
So no further action?
No further action?
No dogs.
Okay. The 2021 Florida legislative session, the changes that were made is in number 3, using a lottery system. We went to a 3-year term for the first go around. Because you have to space them out 1, 2, and 3.
We used to have a number 9 on here
I
that
took that out.
was taken out on purpose,
Yeah.
okay. I just wanted to make sure it didn't fall off by mistake.
Then on the new one, I put down original parcels of land as determining for tax purposes. And then, the one on the garage is no garage may be built by use of combinations of lots in one. Maybe I should have put down future, no future garage may be used by combining lots. That would then address that whole issue.
Right.
Thing. If you've got a lot currently, fine. If you combine a lot in the
If you need
future.
to talk, you need to go outside, please.
Any questions on that? Budget for fiscal year ending 9/30/2021. Before we start, an oversight was made on my part to have a 21-day notice placed in the Bradenton Herald for the budget public hearing. That public hearing will now be held on March 23rd, Monday. There'll be a special board meeting. We will take public comments, and after which we will take action on the budget for the 2020 and 2021 budget. With that, I'll turn it over to Mary.
Okay. At the last board meeting, I was directed to make some changes. We are including a 5% increase in our facility rentals. And I reflected that here. I reflected the kayak change. I reflected the increases in the marina rates that we discussed last time. and the storage lots. The one thing that I added that was not part of our last budget meeting was application fees. I started looking at the $50 application fee that we charge in the office. We've been charging that $50 application fee for about 15, 20 years. So I think it's time for that to be revisited. So I've included some increases in that.
What was the increase?
I have got it moving to $60 and then $65 and then $70, so an incremental increase. Which is, I'm telling you, I've been applying for some parks outside of the state of Florida, and it's a lot more than $50.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
on that point, I think you're referring to the application fee for change ownership. Right. You're talking about the $50.
It's,
That's in the deed restriction, section 12, and that's locked in at $50 max.
it's the application that we do to verify you're 55 years of age or older, or if you're a renter that you're 55 years of older. I believe that's what that's all about.
I thought it
An
was the
application
fee
for-
that was in our.
1 minute. Or
Yeah, check it.
Let's, Mary's got the book, let's check it.
That could be, okay.
Section 12.
Yes, yeah, he's right. We shall not exceed $50.
Wow.
That sentence ends, it starts with, in order to maintain a community of congenial residents who are agreeable to abide by the housing for older persons restrictions contained in the deed restrictions. And then it goes on, it's a big long paragraph. The very last sentence says, and the fee shall not exceed $50.
Okay.
So,
That wasn't a lot of money. I just figured, you know, if we're looking
Right,
at
right.
everything we charge, we should be consistent. So,
right, but that's a good catch by
yeah,
Gordon.
good catch. Thank
Now, wait a
you.
minute, okay, but if you want to use semantics, an application fee is not a transfer fee. You say it's an application to apply, that's different than a transfer fee. We're not calling it a transfer fee, we're calling it an application fee. I know it's semantics, and I guess that's what you gotta play with when you deal with governmental bodies, is that semantics do make a difference in how you look at it. So if you call it an application fee and not a transfer fee, because I don't see anything in the budget that says transfer fee.
Well, it says to approve in writing all sales, transfer, title, lease, or sublease of a lot of parcel, occupation, or dwelling. It's pretty comprehensive in this number 12. Maybe we want to read the whole entire thing out loud as long as it is.
In order to maintain a community of congenial residents who are agreeable to abide by the, quote, housing for older persons, end of quote, restrictions contained in the deed restrictions and provisions of the charter of Trailer State Park and Recreation District, hereinafter collectively, quote, restrictions, end of quote, end of parentheses, the transfer of lots or parcels by any owner shall be subject to the conditions herein set forth, as long as said restrictions shall remain in force and effective. It shall be necessary for the Board of Trustees of Trailer State Park and Recreation District or its duly authorized officers, agents, or committee to approve in writing all sales, transfers, titles, leases, or subleases of lots or parcels or occupations of the dwelling units on a lot or parcel. Before such sales, transfers, lease, sublease, or occupation shall be valid and effective. Written application, okay, it does go on. Written application for approval shall contain such information as may be reasonably required by applicational form promulgated by the rules, by the Board of Trustees, as shall be accompanied by transfer fee as required by resolution of the Board, provided however such no fee shall not exceed $50. I guess that does cover it. Okay, moving on.
Thank you, Gordon. That was a good catch, because that would have been a problem if we moved forward with that.
Go ahead.
So with that, with all of those changes that we discussed, I would have to recommend that the assessments move from $1,100 a year to $1,200 a year. and that they increase 5% each year thereafter. At the end of 3 years out, we would get our reserve, not where it has been for a long time, but I mean, it's not going to be good. It will be 420,000, which is not adequate, but over time, hopefully, it will get there. I'm not comfortable with that reserve, but there's no other way to do it without increasing it more than that.
So we're going 11 to 12,
Yeah,
to 1260, to 1323 in the next 3.
yes.
Why don't we just go 1,300 and quit all this 5%?
Well, we can certainly, and then hold it flat. We'd end up with a reserve that's more,
And that would build
comfortable.
a reserve in a heartbeat.
it would. I agree 100%.
The board would still have the option to reconsider the assessment each year.
Correct,
This wouldn't commit us beyond the 1 year.
correct.
The fund balance that you're projecting here, the budget document normally sets aside 325,000 as a reserve. Is this over and above that?
No, that
This
is-
includes
that's
that
all we have.
325.
Yeah. And the 325 was historical, and like I said, that is just not even close to being enough for the site. But it's hard to build it, so this will help us build it. I'm going to, I'm up for reelection next year. I'm going to put my reelection on the table here and get real risky here. I have another budget proposal I'd like the board to consider.
Before you go there, I have a problem with doing it the way Dwayne says, because then you're still coming back and you're constantly trying to put additional money into the budget, and you constantly have this reaction to what's going on without thinking about the future. And I think you need to think about the future. I mean, I'd rather go to 1,300 than you go 5% every year thereafter. I think that builds up the reserve, and it isn't a large reserve. But you need some kind of reserve, because if a wall goes down at the marina, or the pool collapses because of the weight, I mean, I'm just being facetious a little bit there, but you need to have some kind of funds available, and I think 1,300 is more reasonable to that effect. Yes, I know that people that are on fixed incomes, that have a problem if we raise it $200 a year, and then raise it 5% every year after, but again, I have no control of outside influences or outside disasters that could affect this park. So, I mean, I'm the other way on that, but go ahead, Mary.
Okay, after the last board meeting, I had several residents speak to me about the marina and our proposed increased rates in the marina, and we know that there were several of them that actually came to the board meeting last time and expressed their concern about marina rates. And I'm not a boat owner, but I started, it really got me thinking about this park and the amenities of this park. And the fact that everybody here uses different things. I mean, there are people that never use the pool. I mean, people that never use a lot of it, and they're all paying the same assessment, whether they use the facilities or not. They're here for them. I want to know, I'm going to just throw it out there and shoot darts at me or whatever. The thoughts about the marina becoming a park amenity, just like the pool, the bocce, the shuffleboard, the horseshoes, everything, which means we do not rent slips to people who are non-residents. We open up all of those slips to residents only, and they are allowed to keep their boats there without paying a slip rental for it. Now, I'm not suggesting that for the storage lot, I'm just recommending it for the marina. So I didn't go so far as to say the storage lot is another amenity of the park. If we were to eliminate that income source, then the assessment, instead of going up to the 1,200 that I had recommended, that Dwayne had recommended at 13, would need to go up to 1,275. But it would create more, we wouldn't be discriminating against those people who own a boat versus those people who don't own a boat versus those people who use some facilities and don't use other facilities. It's just saying these amenities are here. When we put our house on the market and we're selling it, we're bragging about the fact that we have a marina. Every single one of us here does that, and it helps the sale and the value of our property that we live in a park that has a marina. Like I said,
If
I'm throwing it out there.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Right.
If we've got, I don't know what the magic number is, if we've got 150 slips at the marina, and we've got 300 residents that have boats, how do we figure out who gets the slips?
First come,
First
first
come,
served.
Well, it's the
first
same
served.
route. We got
That's the way it's
people-
always been, first come, first served.
No, that's every day.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
every day. Okay, you go out in the morning with your boat, you can come back in the afternoon and not have a slip available.
Oh, I was not suggesting
Oh,
that.
yes, you are. By suggesting this, you are. When you say it's an amenity, that's what you're saying. You're saying as an amenity, it comes first come, first served. So at the end of the day, when you go take your boat out in the morning, you have no guarantee when you come back in the afternoon that you got a spot. That's what
Oh,
you're saying.
I was not going to that extreme.
Well,
I was
that's
saying
the
that we
extreme
have a
you have.
waiting list of residents who have boats who need slips at the marina, but there aren't slips available.
You're saying it's an amenity. And an amenity means first come, just like the pool. You just said, it's like the
Okay.
pool.
All right.
And if you're gonna use the pool as the example, that means when you come down there, you're not guaranteed a chair or a table when you come to the pool. Okay, that's one of my problems. Okay, so
Okay.
you're gonna eliminate, you have that problem. Because it's now an amenity, you better be able to set up 1,093 more slips. Because what you're saying is everybody's entitled to a slip. If you're saying, you know, you're putting this out there, it's just now a slip, that everybody has the amenity to have one. So you're going to put out there 1,093 slips, okay? Because it's now an amenity, you gotta treat everybody equal. All the taxpayers have to be treated in the same manner, okay? That's why we rent this, right? We rent them, one of those. And what happens when it gets out that the boat owners are not paying for boat slips and kayaks and storage? Residents ask the same considerations since their items are also an amenity in the park. Once you open the door of amenities, that's the door you're opening. You're saying that everybody has the right to have it. Again, I don't think that's what they're looking for. They're looking for some way of saying, give us some relief, don't charge us as much. And one of the other things is Hicks would then have the right to put his customers' boats in. Because you would have no way of knowing if it's a resident's boat or not. How do you prove that there's a resident? How do you prove, once you say that you take the boat out, you come back in the afternoon, there's no slip available to you? I have no way of knowing. He doesn't, she doesn't, none of us have a way of knowing whose boat's in there. So Hicks could fill them all up. Yeah.
But by contract, Hicks is allowed just X amount of slots. If Hicks ever found a boat that was not, that he has not rented, you know I'm gonna hear about it.
Well,
To
again,
move it.
yes, but once you open it up and you're not charging, you have no way of knowing.
Well, even, you listen to what you're saying there, even if we jump to 1,300 to build the reserve, you could certainly reduce the cost of what we're proposing to jump from, I'll have to use my slip, 432 to 580, is that what I think I remember? So you could reduce it just by jumping from the 1,200 to 1,300 as part of that.
The first thing that kind of got me with what you said, Mike, was that if we're going to make an amenity, we have to have enough slips for every single person in here. Well, I'm sorry, we don't have a pool that can handle 1,358 people.
40.
Not at all.
So we need to get 3 more pools built if we're gonna use that same
You've got to get 7 more
analogy.
pickleball stations.
And we get,
too.
you know, I mean, if we're gonna say we have to have, all of our amenities have to be able to,
I guess I'm being a little bit facetious.
well, I know, but I mean, I'm saying, well, you know, that's just not, I mean,
But all 1,300 people can use, all 2,500 residents could use the pool if they so desire.
No, there's
Not
a
all at
capacity, there's a capacity. We
Not all at once, not all at once.
No.
but They have the ability.
Yeah.
I can't use the marina because I don't have a boat.
They're still available on the first come, first served though.
Yeah.
Right, yes, it's not a first come,
For the,
first
for the
served.
slips.
No, for the pool.
Oh, for the, yeah.
Pools is everything.
You're right, you're right.
Yes,
You're right.
We have capacities in everything we
Yes, right,
do, so we
right.
only have so many slips,
Yeah.
so.
But it'd be first come, first served. So, you know, if you had a boat and we would end your rental, okay, you take it out in the morning, come back in the afternoon, if there's a small rowboat there, you can't put your boat in there. If you got a raft in there, you can't put your boat in there because that's being used,
Okay.
okay? Now, here's what we're talking about. We have 113 boat slips. 83 are by owners. Of that, 5 of them are renters using the owner category for this slip. So there's a total of 30 boats available. 24 are used by non-residents, and there are 6 available slips. I think are they all the large ones?
No, small,
The
20 footers.
20 footers. That's where part of the problem is. Now, if you don't want to raise it that much, I get that, but, you know, it is an amenity, I agree, but, you know, I have no problem. If you want to remove the rebel, we can do that, we can raise it, but I'm telling you, the complaints you're gonna get are the ones I'm mentioning, because I can see people say, hey, no, I don't pay for it. Gee, I do have a boat up north, I'm gonna come down here and put it in the slip. The reason I don't bring it down is they're charging me. I don't wanna pay the charge, okay?
So the 85 residents that are already have a slip.
83.
83, they would maintain their slip, and then the remaining 40 slips,
30.
30, the remaining 30 slips would be up for grabs.
They all be up for grabs. Their
He's saying
contract,
they'll all be.
they all up for grabs when their contracts expire.
Gotcha.
Or we expire their contract, give them back their money. Now they become all available to everybody.
I personally, I'd rather see us not raise their rates as bad. If we think we could get away with not having any income from them, then that's just blown the thought of why we need to increase them so much. What was the proposed increase? It was
Right
45%.
right now, a resident pays 25% of what a non-resident pays, so they're getting it for a quarter of what I would pay if I was a non-resident. The new budget, the new one increases at 35%, I think is what it is.
And maybe that new increase is a little,
And the other thing you're going to have to explain to residents, even if you raise it to 175, is what you're telling them is that you're raising it $75 for people who have boats, don't have to pay anything. That's what your proposal is.
I'm saying that so it's equitable, that all the amenities of the park are available to all of the park residents who all pay the same amount. So I'm paying whether I have a boat or not, because it's an amenity of the park, just like I'm paying whether I use the pool or not, just like I'm paying whether or not I choose to use any of these facilities, I'm paying the same amount. It's a personal choice how much I get involved in the park and what I use of park amenities. It's a personal choice, but I'm going to pay the same amount as anybody who uses them all. It's a personal choice. But I was not in the slightest thinking that it was going to be an issue where if a person took their boat out, they weren't guaranteed a slip. I was thinking those who have slips, keep their slips. Those who are on a waiting list that can't put their boat in because it's being occupied by a non-resident, will now, as they've appeared on the list, will be given an option to take a slip. And then if they're filled with residents and I have a boat, I'm on a waiting list. The first person that leaves, you get their slip.
I think there's another perspective to this too, and that's the financial one for the cost of maintenance. We've got seawall and dredging as two big ticket items that we have to do. I don't know how often we have to do that. I'm sure there's some variability to that. But I believe between those two things, they will cost us over $500,000. of course, of how often that they have to be done. The pool is probably the next facility that has the biggest
Yeah.
ongoing operating costs. But if something happened with the pool, we can shut it down. We don't have to fix it tomorrow because it failed. If the seawall collapses, we probably have to fix it tomorrow. And that, so I think there's a liability, a potential, the worst case scenario potential that is unique to the marina. And I think that alone justifies fees. I would not support the idea of eliminating fees completely. I think there should be some rental system. I think that if we eliminated fees, among the many problems I see it we have, unless it's open on a daily basis, the question about people renting spaces or having spaces assigned to them in some way and being empty would also be an issue, as well as the one that comes in that's had their boat forever here and has no way, no trailer, no capacity, the boat ramp is closed, there's no way they can get it out of the water, and they need to do something with it that night. I think that would be a bigger issue than everything else that we identified. So,
Most of the boat owners that have come to me on this thing don't agree with the 25%. I kind of let that go at the last meeting thinking, well, that was $216 increase to me, which wasn't that bad. But again, if we want to build a reserve, and then, then it goes up 5% for that, in addition to whatever my storage goes for the trailer, because you can't keep it at your residence, that's an additional cost. So they were saying, okay, raise the rate to say $1,300 and maybe keep the prices at the same level.
I did some figuring based on what Mary gave us with regards to things. Under facilities, it's a 35-cent per resident per month over 3 years increase. She has $15,850 for total. The marina and kayak income is 9 cents per resident per month over 3 years. And the storage lot is $1.11 per resident per month over 3 years. And then the total increase is consistent with all increases in application fee. That one we had to knock out because we can't raise that one. So my figures a little bit off the bottom, because they took all the total of all three, and it broke out to be $1.80 per resident per month over 3 years, but it did include the application fee, which we have to take out now, so it would reduce it by that amount, by 26 cents. So, I mean,
How many people do we have on the waiting list to get boat slips? How many residents are waiting for them to open up, do we know? On a guess?
I'd have to back check this.
Okay.
I don't have that, I didn't ask for that number, I asked for the other ones.
I can answer that.
Can you?
Give us that, Ed, when we get to residents' comments and questions, please.
I'm thinking if we increase it to the 1,300 that Dwayne is recommending, maybe we can eliminate the non-owner boat slips and open those up, so at least our marina is for our residents.
Because the marina and the storage does pay for what we put in, for what we're paying out.
So,
And then the way the policy is written is when the non-resident slip ends, contract ends, and we have a waiting list, then that non-resident gets booted.
had we done that?
Oh, yeah.
So we,
And that's where we had the problem with the dock master saying, no, I'm not gonna rent to any non-residents at all. But we do have a waiting list for the boat slips. But unfortunately, it's not the 20-footers. The 20-footers, we have 6 of them. We have only one 26-foot, but the 26-foot is in a location that's so damn difficult to even maneuver a boat in.
So if I'm a non-resident and I have a slip here, and I just keep renewing my contract every year,
Correct.
then that'll never be available to a resident. It's
Correct.
only if I say, I'm taking my boat out, I'm not coming back.
Correct.
Then that slip cannot be rented to another non-resident, automatically flips over to a resident.
Correct. And that's how we were keeping the cost up of non-residents, because I think it's what, 35% higher than what we have.
It's a lot more than that, yeah. Okay.
Now, one year Bruce had recommended some changes to the formatting of the slips and stuff to make bigger slips and blah, blah. Did we do those things and did we maximize?
Yes, we
Alright.
did.
We can't do anything with the 20-footers that are there to make them bigger, like a 40-footer? I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, I can go down and I can take those slips out because they're all in one section. There's 6 of them. I can go ahead and pull that and make it a 30-footer that where one boat can come in, which would be the highest cost of renting
Yeah.
instead of a 24. But whoever has that would have to maneuver the boat to turn to come in instead of angling in.
It would be good.
It would be
Well,
difficult.
you have
So
to
that-
risk of
so that
hitting
doesn't-
other boats.
Yeah.
But we did, we got
Okay.
on the seawalls, we pulled the 20-footers, or I'm sorry, the 24-footers, and made those 30-footers with a handicap ramp we put in there, we took away, and made that a 30-footer so the individual could get into a boat. But yeah, we moved it,
So we've tried to maximize everything we can to accommodate the bigger boats.
and the only other thing I can suggest is when the contract ends, is take away a few slots from but it's not Hicks
Well,
Marine.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, how many slips does he have?
5.
Can he maybe use any of those 20-foot slips that we can't seem to use?
No.
Dang, okay.
He's got the 5 that are closest to his building, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Which
they're,
makes business
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
and see, they're all 30-footers he can put out there. And then he was also going to put in the 40-foot lift, which I doubt is going to go in since he ordered his son.
Okay, where are we now on this budget?
So where are we with what
What do you-
we're gonna go
what
with,
does
what
the
we're gonna
board-
change?
You'll recommend what?
Well, my recommendation is jump to 1,300 and keep,
And leave everything else the way it
Yeah.
was when I just
Yeah.
changed the assessment?
just, well, even if we do, just hear what you said, it's gonna be 1,300 raising it, but both slips are still gonna go up to the price.
Well, no, that's what we need to decide.
Yeah.
That's what we need to decide. We've got options here.
Do we need to go 5%? If we go to straight 1,300?
I think we should get on a routine of 5% every year.
Or even cost of living?
I have trouble going with the 1,300.
Why?
That's $200 in 1 year. I think that's too big a jump. And I think that it's reasonable to have an increase on the marina slips, not the 50%. But I think a 10% increase would be appropriate for the resident rates, and keeping the same ratio for the non-resident rates. And I'm not sure what that would do with the revenue, but we're only looking, I believe, at about $20,000 increase in marina income.
Right now, we've increased the non-owner slips by 5%. So the 20-foot is going from 1,400 to 1,470. And then the resident for that same slip is 540, so it's roughly a third of what a non-resident is paying. Roughly. Less than a third.
And the 1,400, or the current rates are what ratio?
25%, 360 to 1,400. If you look at that 20-foot one, an outside person's paying 1,400, a resident's paying 360. So it's about 25%, and I'm moving it to, I have my calculator there on my phone, but
What do you need?
540 compared to 1470, what percentage is that? Less than 30.
Less than 3%. 25%.
Get my social security on my phone. Really sorry I have my phone. I'm saying.
Well, even if we say it's 45%,
Yeah,
you know, you can calculate.
well, it's a lot less than that, 540 compared
I
to
thought it was
36%.
35 of what you had on.
Almost 37%.
Sorry. So a resident will pay about 36% of what a non-resident will pay for a 20-foot slip, and I'm sure the ratios,
About the same.
it's about it's so much per foot, so. Versus 360 divided by 1,400 was what number?
So it's the big jump though that I'm seeing is the 360 to the 540. What's that percentage of jump?
Okay, so 360 divided by 1,400
That's 50.
is,
25%.
okay, so that's all right, I thought I had that right. So we were paying 25% of what a non-resident would pay. Now our residents are paying about 36% of what a non-resident would pay. But the increase of,
That makes it increase 11%?
no,
Or it's not that easy?
no, it's not that easy. So 540 divided by
540 is 50%.
Yes.
It's exactly 50%.
Okay. Minus, yeah.
Yeah, I just see that, if we're gonna jump it, I see that being an awful big jump. I mean, if
Yeah.
we've gotta do it to survive, we've gotta do it, but it's,
Well, let me go the other way. Just taking what Elton said is, or I'm sorry, that is a $200 jump.
Mhm.
All the scenarios I've heard for the boats, the park amenities and everything is, it is really cheap to live in trailer estates. So all the boat things, the storage have been compared to the outside.
Mhm.
But yet we're going to cry over a $200 jump which will benefit the entire park. I just don't agree with that philosophy at all.
I got it.
I'm sorry.
Proposal, no. Why don't we just raise them, whatever we're gonna charge to the outside, make it 33% for the residents here in the park. That way you're raising it from 360 to 485 rather than 540, but it's a third of what we're being charged to the outsiders.
Are you proposing an increase to
That's
the outsiders?
125 instead of a, we are, right now, we have a 5% increase. It's going
Right,
from
But
14 to
in
14%.
Chairman's,
My proposal would be going from 14, whatever the 1470, do 33%, make that the 360 for the, 20 footers, whatever, 1512 is. Would be 498. It isn't as dramatic, I don't think. Yeah, I'm wrong.
If I'm taking 1470 and dividing it by 3, I'm getting 390.
Well, I took 470 times 33% is 485, that's for the 20 foot. For the 1512 times 0.33, it's 498 and 499, rounding it up. 1814 times 0.33 is 598. And the last one, 1966 times is 648. Yes, they're an increase, but they're not as dramatic or as the other ones. And it keeps them within the ratio of 33%. I mean, if you think that's too high, you can lower it, but just, Again, I've got no problem eliminating the fee altogether if you want to go for a free-for-all.
I don't like the free for all.
that's what it would be.
Well, not in the scenario you said where you're not guaranteed a spot for your boat if you go out for the day. That don't work. That's never gonna work.
Well, but that's what you'd be doing, you know. Because once you say it's an amenity, you're making it available like making a pool available, first come, first served.
Yeah, another thing too is like right now, if I recall correctly, there's signage that says if you don't have a boat, you're not supposed to be down on the docks. And if that was open, then people.
It's not a walk down there.
No,
For residents.
the residents can all go down on the docks, but if you're gonna go fishing and stuff, you have to be accompanied by a resident or have a guest card.
Okay, all right, my mistake.
But again, I'm still looking at that $1,300 increase is to meet the expenses of the park.
And set an adequate
And set an
reserve.
adequate reserve. And, you know, I don't mind what we just did for the boat increase or the storage increase, because we're still generating revenue. That's probably a good fee for those owners. But my main concern is if we're not making budget to run the park, then assign a dollar figure that you are going to make salaries and budget and everything else, instead of doing it every 3 years or 2 to 3 years.
I mean, we're all gonna, there is politics playing into this, like, no way getting around it. I mean, I'm up for election in December, but my attitude is, look at, if they don't like what I'm doing, there's slots available, be my guest, run for this position, sit on this side of the desk, and make the decisions that are hard. One thing about representative democracy, you elect people to make those decisions that you don't want to make. That's why you have representative government, because if you could make the decisions, you'd be sitting here doing the same thing we're doing. How do you make these decisions? They're not easy. I mean, it affects everyone up here, because all of us are residents, all of us own homes here. You raise it $200, I'm gonna pay that same fee as you're gonna pay. I'm not any more happy than any other resident out here as it relates to the fee in the park. But
And I'm not either,
And-
but we gotta make expenses.
We gotta make the tough decisions, and everybody's gotta understand that not everybody has a silver spoon in their mouth, and I definitely am one of those that doesn't even know what a silver spoon looks like. And I still have to make those decisions. My husband and I are on fixed incomes. He's recently been disabled, and I get the fixed income. I understand that I know exactly how much I'm gonna have this month, exactly how much I'm gonna have next month, and exactly how much I'm gonna have the month after that. And I understand how difficult it is, and I still have to sit here and make the right decisions for the entire park, not just my own pocketbook.
so you're saying move it up to 1,300? Are you agreeable to the 5% increase every year after that?
Yes.
Anybody's, I mean, you're gonna get public comment after we're done today. We're gonna get public comment a week from 2 weeks
Moving
from
into
today.
1,300 is $16.66 per month per home.